Protecting students, a mother is pushing for further punishment after football players put peanuts in her son's locker. This just days after he told them about his potentially lethal food allergy.
Now that story and dozens of other tips with bullying concerns from KXAN viewers in recent months led investigator Kelly Wiley to learn there's little state oversight of school district discipline.
Shauna Mannon.
Fueled by frustration, mother of three Shauna Mannon stepped in front of the Lake Travis ISD school board in November.
I want to start off by saying we're huge supporters of the athletic programs at Lake Travis High School.
Weeks before, her son, a sophomore varsity football player who's allergic to peanuts, found his locker filled with them just before the season opener game.
As he grabbed the uniform, peanuts fell out everywhere. He noticed hives started to develop on his arm almost immediately.
The incident unfolded just a day after she says her son's teammates questioned him,
asking about his allergy to peanuts and asked if it could kill him, if it were to touch him, or would it kill him if they put them in his cleats or in his uniform. He said, yes, it absolutely could.
Mannon says she didn't speak to the school board to ridicule the boys responsible, instead to address the way school leaders dealt with the incident.
These boys were handed minimal consequences for their actions.
Mannon says the district allowed the athletic director and head football coach, not administrators, to suspend the boys from a few games. When we asked Lake Travis ISD why, it said the district's code of conduct allowed administrators and coaches to work together to determine discipline.
Just absolute disappointment. My heart kind of sank at that point because in their policy clearly states that when there's a school issue, the school handles it, and the secondary discipline comes from the extracurricular activities.
Despite weeks of conversations between KXAN and district officials, Lake Travis ISD did not agree to an on-camera interview, but confirmed its police department did not press criminal charges, and the department opened a bullying investigation only after Mannon went to the school board.
And it was like one thing after another. Someone put a peanut butter granola bar in his backpack while he was in the locker room, and
really,
we never figured out who that was. Really, yeah. It's just every day was something.
Then the school district concluded its investigation, finding what happened to Mannon's son was not bullying. According to the district, it didn't fit the legal definition. In the Texas Education Code, bullying is defined as an act or pattern of acts that physically harms a student or materially and substantially disrupts the educational process.
I call it bullying. I don't know what else to call it.
Okay, first of all, if it's not bullying, then what is it?
For years, State Senator Jose Menendez has successfully passed legislation giving districts more power to handle bullying in schools. But Menendez says he still hears concern from parents.
They feel that the schools aren't taking it very seriously, that not enough is happening, that maybe they report it, maybe the report gets created, but they don't see the discipline in some cases.
KXAN found since 2021, the Texas Education Agency has received more than 500 complaints of bullying in Texas school districts. But the TEA sent the majority of those back to local school districts for the grievance process to resolve. Data shows at least 13 resulted in the state ordering districts to make changes. In a statement, the Texas Education Agency said it does not guide districts on how to handle discipline regarding bullying. No state law gives TEA that authority.
We're in that period of time where we need to turn in a potential interim request to the government for interim studies. Obviously I would like to see, thanks to this and others, what are we doing as a state to focus on creating a safe environment? What does a safe environment mean?
Mannon says she's filed a complaint with the Federal Office of Civil Rights. She's also filed a grievance with the district. She and her attorney argue the district did not follow its own policy when it allowed the athletic director to determine punishment.
I'm hopeful right now. I feel like I'm really hopeful that they're going to do the right thing.
Across the country, some states go beyond what Texas has implemented to prevent bullying. Several acknowledge bullying can include, but is not limited to, acts based on characteristics, race and sexuality, for example. Texas law does not specify protected groups. Several states also require school districts to review their bullying policies on a cycle. New Jersey has one of the strongest bullying laws in the country. It requires school districts to review their policies annually with experts. Texas does not. But when we presented Senator Menendez with those options, he said he does like that idea of a regular review and could include it in his request for the legislature to study ahead of next session. Kelly Wiley, KXAN Investigates.
And our thanks to Kelly for that. We have been keeping up with the case featured in her story. That mother tells us her son did have hives on his body, but he was able to wash his hands before anything got into his eyes or his mouth, and he did not need medical attention.
TEA did review this incident as well and said it found the district did not violate Texas law or policy. Online now, a closer look at this case, the complaint data in this report, and how other states are tackling bullying. It's in this story in the investigative section of KXAN.com.